Most people do not stay trapped because they never touch money. They stay trapped because they build a life that keeps needing money faster than money can ever set them free. That is the real problem. A lot of people spend their entire lives trying to make more, without ever asking what more is actually for. They chase raises, opportunities, side hustles, status markers, upgrades, and visible signs of progress. Yet somehow the distance between them and peace never shrinks. The salary gets bigger, the calendar gets fuller, the life gets more expensive, the pressure remains. That is not accidental. It is what happens when money is treated as the point instead of the tool. So let me give you the one mother line that everything in this story serves. Quiet wealth is built when you organize life around freedom, automation, and long-term ownership instead of status, noise, and constant financial reaction. That is the line, not luck, not one huge year, not some secret hack, escape velocity. Because once you understand that, the game changes. Money stops being a scoreboard, it becomes a propulsion system. Spending stops being a reward reflex. It becomes a trade-off against future freedom. Investments stop being random symbols on a screen. They become the engine meant to one day carry more of your life than your labor does. That is the actual shift. Now let me show you the mechanisms. The first mechanism is freedom framing. Most people think money is for buying things, bills, comfort, upgrades, status, evidence that life is going well. That is the ordinary frame. It is also the frame that keeps people in orbit around work forever. Freedom framing begins somewhere else. Money is not primarily for things. It is for reducing the degree to which you must sell your time forever. It is for optionality. It is for the ability to say no. It is for the day when your investments produce enough to cover a meaningful share and eventually all of your actual life. That is what I mean by escape velocity. A rocket does not need infinite power. It needs enough power to stop being pulled back down by gravity. Your financial life works the same way. Bills, lifestyle, debt, and social pressure keep pulling you back toward the daily game of earning. The point is not to become theatrically rich. The point is to build enough assets that the gravity weakens. This matters because it changes what success feels like. A raise is no longer proof that you deserve better toys. It becomes fuel for the engine. A cheaper lifestyle is no longer deprivation. It is reduced gravitational drag. A growing investment account is no longer just a nice number. It is the beginning of altitude. That is freedom framing. Now let us move to the second mechanism. I call it tool mentality. Money becomes dangerous when it turns into identity. That happens far more often than people admit. They start to believe that more money means more self-worth, more importance, more proof that they matter. Once that happens, every financial decision gets emotionally contaminated. Spending becomes performance, income becomes ego, loss becomes shame, gains become a temporary identity high. But they never built the life that money was supposed to serve. That is why tool mentality matters so much. A hammer is not the purpose of the house. It is the tool that helps build it. Money is the same. It should serve a chosen life, not become the object of worship itself. The moment you detach your identity from your bank balance, you get calmer, you stop making purchases to prove your success. You stop taking work. You hate just because the number flatters your insecurity. You stop panicking every time the account moves, because the account is no longer your soul in numeric form. This does not make you careless. It makes you strategic, because a tool can be used, an idol must be protected. That is why so many high earners remain anxious. They are serving the thing that was supposed to serve them. They built the tool and forgot the blueprint. That is tool mentality. Now let us move to the third mechanism. I call it automatic capital flow. Most people fail with money because they expect future discipline to save a structure that present design has already sabotaged. That is too fragile. Automatic capital flow means the money moves to the future before your mood has a chance to interrupt it. Payroll deductions, scheduled investment transfers, automatic savings routes, systems where the paycheck lands and a portion disappears into ownership before spending gets a vote. This is one of the most powerful wealth habits in the world precisely because it is so unexciting. It turns the process from an emotional debate into plumbing. The investor no longer needs to become wise every month. The system already decided. That is how real wealth is built in the background, while ordinary people are still trying to feel more motivated next month. Automation matters for a second reason. When the money never fully feels spendable, you adapt around what remains. That means your lifestyle forms under the level of your true income instead of rising to consume all of it. The future gets paid first. That is a completely different financial architecture from hoping the future will get whatever is left. And whatever is left is how most people get left behind. That is automatic capital flow. Now, let us move to the fourth mechanism. I call it lifestyle containment. This is where many promising financial lives die quietly. The raise comes in, the lifestyle rises with it, the account stays flat, the person still feels stressed, and they call it normal. That is the trap. Lifestyle containment means refusing to let each increase in income instantly become a permanent increase in cost. It is not about living badly. It is about recognizing that wealth is built in the gap between what you earn and what you require to feel. Okay, if the gap never grows, wealth never really starts. You simply become a more expensive version of the same person. This is why even extremely high earners can remain strangely fragile. If their costs absorb their gains, they are still in the same game. Just at a fancier altitude, the rich-looking life is not always the wealthy life. The wealthy life often looks more controlled, less theatrical, and far more deliberate than the culture trains people to admire. Protecting the gap is one of the great quiet acts of self-respect. A person who earns more and lives the same for a while is not being small. They are becoming dangerous in the best possible way, because that extra gap can be invested. And once it is invested, it starts doing work. Your old salary never could. That is lifestyle containment. Now let us move to the fifth mechanism. I call it comparison immunity. Social media has built an economy around making ordinary people feel late. Someone has a nicer car, a bigger holiday, a better apartment, a cleaner kitchen, a better body, a louder life, a more obvious win. And suddenly your own path begins to feel insufficient. That is comparison immunity's enemy. The problem is not simply envy. The problem is that comparison distorts financial timing. It makes people spend in order to catch up to an illusion. Most of what is visible online is not actual wealth. It is often consumption, debt, branding, or selective moments. But the brain still reacts. It still feels behind, and the urge to close that emotional gap becomes a spending problem. This is why quiet wealth requires a kind of deliberate blindness. You have to know where you are going well enough that other people's displays stop altering your route. Otherwise, you remain in the social economy of flexing instead of the financial economy of freedom. The wealthy person I respect is not the one who looks richest. It is the one who has organized life so that they need less external validation from the audience. That is comparison immunity. Now, let us move to the sixth mechanism. I call it wealth visibility. Most people track income. Too few track the thing that matters more, net worth. That is wealth visibility. If you do not know what you own, what you owe, how your assets are growing, how much cash is actually being retained, and whether your overall financial position is stronger than it was 6 months ago, then you are driving blind. You may be working hard and still drifting. You may be earning well and still leaking. Without visibility, All you have is a vibe. Wealth building cannot run on vibes. This is why tracking matters so much. Not obsessively, clearly. The person who checks net worth, savings, account balances, and investment growth regularly is not merely being responsible. They are training the mind to see money as a system instead of a stream of random monthly events. That changes behavior. It makes leaks visible. It makes progress emotionally real. It turns compounding from theory into something you can watch. And what you watch carefully, you usually improve. That is wealth visibility. Now let us move to the seventh mechanism. I call it decade thinking. Most people sabotage wealth because they keep asking short-range questions. How do I make more this month? How do I look better this year? What can I buy now? How do I feel richer quickly? Those are the wrong questions. Decade thinking asks something else. What does this choice become if repeated for 10 years? What does this account become if fed every month for 2 decades? What does this habit buy me in freedom later? What does the seed become if I stop digging it up to check whether it is growing? This is where quiet wealth separates from noisy ambition. Quiet wealth is not cinematic. It is repetitive. It is often invisible in the early years. A person may appear ordinary while their systems are doing something extraordinary underneath. The account compounds, the habits harden, the lifestyle stays contained, the identity detaches from status. The future starts being funded without announcement. That is why decade thinking matters so much. It rescues you from the emotional violence of wanting everything to feel impressive. Now it teaches you to trust slow geometry. And slow geometry is what money has always respected most. That is decade thinking. Now I want to force the identity shift, because without it, this still sounds like a list of money tips instead of a philosophy of freedom. Stop thinking like someone trying to get richer. Start thinking like an escape builder. A person trying to get richer asks how to increase the number. An escape builder asks how to reduce gravity and increase ownership until work is no longer the only thing holding life up. A person trying to get richer worships income. An escape builder uses income as fuel. A person trying to get richer wants external proof. An escape builder wants internal room. That is the stronger identity. Because once you think that way, each habit starts making sense. Freedom framing, tool mentality, automatic capital flow, lifestyle containment, comparison immunity, wealth visibility, decade thinking. They are not separate tricks. They are parts of one machine designed to move you from dependence to option value. And now let me give you the operating system plainly. First, define money as freedom, not consumption. That changes every later decision. Second, detach self-worth from income. Tools should serve your life, not become your identity. Third, automate investing before the money becomes available for lifestyle creep. Fourth, protect the gap between what you earn and what you spend, especially after raises. Fifth, stop comparing your real life to other people's spending theater. Sixth, track net worth and major accounts consistently so your progress becomes visible and actionable. Seventh, think in decades. Wealth is rarely dramatic in the beginning and still wins. That is the heart of it. Quiet wealth is not built through luck, and it is not built through stress addiction. It is built through systems that quietly lower your dependency on the next dollar. That is why it looks boring. That is why it works. Now, let me end where this really matters. You can keep chasing more money without asking what more money is actually for. You can keep tying your self-worth to your income and your lifestyle to every raise. You can keep scrolling other people's spending and mistaking it for wealth. You can keep making financial decisions that increase the appearance of success while shrinking the reality of freedom. Or you can do the harder thing. You can build for escape velocity. You can automate ownership. You can protect the gap. You can stop performing. You can track what matters, you can think in decades, and you can make the rest of your life less dependent on how many hours you sell next month. That is the threshold. Because the people who build quiet wealth are rarely the ones making the most noise. They are the ones who built a life where money slowly stopped being their master and became their employee instead. That is the mirror. Look into it carefully. If your financial life still needs constant effort, validation, and escalation just to feel stable, then whatever else is true, gravity is still stronger than your engine. The moment that begins to reverse is the moment quiet wealth begins.